Okay, we're gonna start on page 145.
I'm ready.
145. We're back to our. We're on chapter 6. So he's saying, yeah, one cannot fathom the humiliation and insult a neglected wife feels. Hashem instills in a wife a yearning for her husband. Indeed, the more he attains personal holiness, the more he yearns, the more she yearns for him. Sorry. The physical bond is a vital complement to the emotional and spiritual bond between a husband and a wife. For that reason, a husband must be careful about fulfilling his conjugal responsibilities in a loving and joyful manner. If not, then he'll have to account for a sad, frustrated, and vindictive wife who feels like dying and who probably spends Shabbat and holiness crying. Hear what he says? He says, a woman is instinctively, Hashem creates her to want her husband. You hear? She has a yearning for him. She wants his attention. She wants his care. She wants to be in his domain. You hear? So he says, when a person is not careful about his personal holiness, where he wants to satisfy himself, because yesterday in Mincha time somebody came over to me and said, why shouldn't I have lust for my wife? And he heard this. He wasn't here, but he heard it. He was in the back. He says, why can't I lust for my wife? That's actually good. Every wife will want her to. I said, no, you misunderstood. It's not that he lusts for his wife. He's lusting for his own pleasure, which means I told him that if it's not his wife, he'd be okay also. Meaning he needs to satisfy his urge. And therefore, this urge is the wrong approach. Yeah, because he's metameing his mind, yeah, polluting his mind with all sorts of things that he sees outside, all sorts of things that he sees on his phone, yeah, and therefore he, in his mind, it's I need to gratify myself. Who it is doesn't care. He happens to have his wife there, so it's free gratification. And says that's what he's saying over here. If you're gonna go and gratify yourself, she's gonna know that, and she's gonna feel terrible because she feels that the husband is in it for just self-gratification. Yeah.
It's a tool Hashem gave us to connect.
It's correct. But the connection is you have to do first emotional connection, then spiritual connection, then you have the physical connection, and towards the end, after the physical connection, remember he says, if you turn around, you go to sleep, you're gone. That shows her what? I'm in and out. Here, you have to be in it and then be more in it afterwards. Meaning, care, hug, kiss, muchiachok, all those things. He says, a misguided husband who strives for holiness is liable to destroy his own marital peace. When he does, it shows that his efforts are not for the sake of holiness. For if he really was holy, he'd be sensitive to the needs of his wife and eager to perform all the mitzvot of the Torah. In his arrogance, the misguided holy celibate, he says, is none other than a cruel and inconsiderate person with warped fantasies about what the Torah really wants from a person. His answer to you, he says over here that he has to give to her. He shouldn't abstain from her. He shouldn't say, no, I want to be holy just once a week. No. If she needs it every day, guess what? You got to do it every day. Yeah. Sometimes it's when you cannot perform every day, but you need to do it every day. Why? She needs it. You know when that's going to be? When she's fully infused with love and emotion and everything, she's going to want it every day. You hear? It's these men who say, nah, my wife doesn't want me. Yeah, because there's no emotional connection. If there's no emotional connection, for her, you're a strange guy. She doesn't even know who you are. You're not her husband. At this point, in her mind, you're not her husband. You hear? She happens to see that physically you are her husband because you're living in the same house and you still have the ring and whatever it is, But in a spiritual level, emotionally, you're not her husband. You hear? So he says, you cannot just make yourself holy and not be with her. Her conjugal visits are, says, mitzvot of the Torah. You hear? Just like you're putting tefillin, like the Rav says. You put on tefillin, you eat kosher food, you keep Shabbat. So this is one of the mitzvot. We have to be obligated. He says, a zealous, misguided, holy celibate. Celibate means he's chas from the priests who don't have relations, tells his wife that he doesn't need the sexual act and that she brings him down because of this lust. You hear? They won't. He accuses her of being an obstacle in his path to holiness. He injects her with the venom of guilt until she becomes totally frustrated and starts persecuting herself for the very desire that Hashem instilled in her. She has the desire for him. Yeah? But yet he's taking that desire out and saying, no, we can't. We think that this is far-fetched. No, there are people who say this, especially people who come to religion new. Yeah, they're thinking, they get to a spiritual high and they want to be, the Moshe Rabbeinu, exactly. You said it right. They want to be Moshe Rabbeinu, abstain from life. She's bewildered. For on one hand, she longs for a husband. Not only that, the code of Jewish law requires her to dress up for and look enticing for him. Yeah, for her husband. It says, on the other hand, she now feels of guilt that she's in the wrong, for she thinks that she's obstructing her husband's service of Hashem. Such an unfortunate wife finds herself in a dangerous whirlpool of frustration and confusion. The result, the holy celibate, this person ends up destroying his home, his marriage, and his wife's sanity with his own two hands. Chas v'shalom. Just do not make that mistake. Your holiness should not be on account of your wife's desires. Her desires have to be fulfilled. He says the Yetzer Hara has another ploy to trap the gullible, misguided husband that wants to be holy. He says, ask your wife politely to share in your aspiration of being a tzaddik. Surely she'd love to be the wife of a tzaddik. Ask her politely, for the sake of holiness, of course, to forego conjugal relations. He says, sweetie, let's not do it every day. I think once a week or once every 2 weeks is fine. The Yetzer Hara is going to ask him to say that. He says, God forbid, such a request is a dire insult to the wife, a mere declaration in her eyes that her husband no longer loves her and no longer desires her. He is robbing her of what she longs for, a perfect union with her husband. You hear? Many people talk that what? On their mikvah night, they cannot do it. He's too tired, he's this, he's that, mamash. And it's a destruction of the family. Because here she is, she's prepared for this day, waits for it, longs for it, and all of a sudden she comes and he's sleeping. Because he's too tired, he's a busy man, he has a busy schedule, He says, Rav Nachman Yosef teaches that the flawless union between an upright husband and an upright wife in this lowly material world is so lofty that it influences the union of Hashem's holy name in the upper worlds. The divine presence hovers between a worthy husband and a wife. As such, as mentioned in the Gemara Sotah, as such, the lower union corresponds to the upper union. A husband should therefore know that the Torah doesn't require celibacy, chas v'shalom, no separation. It requires holiness. One must be careful to fulfill one's conjugal responsibilities, what the Torah refers to as onah. A wife should feel her husband's love for her and not his efforts at striving to be holy. This is mentioned several times. Once again, a husband that desires to be truly holy in thought, speech, and deed should do so by way of extensive personal prayer. One should never demonstrate it about striving for holiness, meaning your holiness should be in your prayers. Go to the shul, be holy. When you come home to your wife, you have to be able to satisfy her. It says the mitzvah of anah, or periodic conjugal relations, should be done with extreme joy. A husband should never be sad or depressed. On the contrary, he should be gentle, loving, considerate, and happy to be with her. His thoughts should be uplifted, and he should desire to gratify his wife. Before conjugal relations, one should pray to Hashem and ask for assistance in fulfilling the mitzvah in the proper manner. Indeed, the more a husband nullifies his own lust, the more he can be patient and involved in fulfilling his wife's pleasure.
Can I ask you something?
Just wanted to put that in there. So, in summary, one can only attain true holiness by fulfilling one's conjugal responsibilities properly, and not by abstention. No abstention. A husband's job is to overcome bodily lust, a spiritual level that anyone can attain. Personal holiness, Shmirat HaBrit, is the foundation of all the blessings and the gate to success in this world and in the next. Which means as long as we have personal holiness, as long as we know, no mitameing our brains and our minds through all these gadgets and everything else, because what happens is when we're ruining our eyes and mind, we are ruining this natural inclination that we have. Because then we come home and we look at our wives like, because we saw all this fakeness going around. So she no longer, you understand? People think that what? No, let me exercise it and I'll have it more. No, it doesn't work like that. Because what happens is it's sort of a downplay on on what you've already seen all day. You come home over here, I don't get excited. You understand? But when you don't see any of that stuff, and you have your wife, then it's a whole different.
It's like supply is given to you, and you using it for somebody else.
Exactly. That's
Then
if
when it comes to use where it's supposed
unable to, right? Huh? Exactly. The following story teaches an important lesson in faith and peace in the home. Look what it says. This is very interesting. I don't think the Rav heard this. Maybe you read it. I'm not sure.
No.
A certain young man returned to Emunah from listening to tapes and lectures, and soon began to attend my lectures in person. He came to talk to me for a long time, but he didn't make much headway in terms of practical observance. There was just one thing that he connected to him right away, was personal prayer, what he called hitborodut, or talking to Hashem in his own language. Basically, young man wasn't religious, but slowly was coming to religion. Though it was apparent on the outside, wasn't apparent on the outside, he soon became a master of prayer. He would engage in hitborodut at every opportunity and could do so for a few hours. Although he was talking to Hashem every day, his observance of mitzvot was still lacking. One night he came up to me and he told me about a girl he had met. Although she didn't share his own interest in Judaism, he nevertheless wanted to marry her. He saw a girl that was not so religious, wasn't really, cared about religion. He wanted her. He was already, into the religious, I had known him for quite some time and knew that he was moving slowly in the right direction. He now had his own tefillin. He started learning Torah a little bit. I felt that the girl that was on his path would be better for him. So I advised him against marrying this particular girl. No, it would not be better for him.
Yeah.
I said to him, what? Why should
a girl on the same path?
Oh, on the same path, right. Same path girl that was also interested in religion would be better for him. This one that he meant, which was not in religion and didn't want to, was no good for him. So he said, what? Why would you enter yourself into such a difficult test of lack of communication and tension? He told the young man. He replied that although he did want to get stronger and continue on the path that he had started, he couldn't see himself ever marrying an Orthodox girl. The girl seemed really right to him, and he hoped that it would be okay. So he says, this girl, I can't marry a religious girl, Orthodox, I can't. But this girl, the one that's not completely not religious, he says, that's what I want to marry. I didn't argue with him, and they got married. Not many days later, after the wedding, before he came to me again, this time with a gloomy face, telling me all about the problems he was having with his new wife. They just weren't getting along. All she was interested in was her mobile phone and having a good time, and things didn't interest him much. He had a different perspective of life, a perspective of emunah, of prayer, and it was difficult for him to find any common ground for communication with her. He saw her as being superficial and empty. His love for her was less with each passing day. So basically, he's married now to this girl. He's moving up on a spiritual ladder. She's staying where she was. It's not her fault, by the way. She was there and she's still there. It seems like you were right, Rabbi, he said sheepishly. What do? Do I divorce her? I gave him a big smile and told him, no way, my friend. Before you got married to her, I advised you against marrying. But now that you're married to her, that's it. This is your wife. There's no way back. This must be your sole correction. You know how to do hidobrut. Go and work on it. Hitbodudut. I told him what to pray for and how to work on his character traits, not to make even the slightest negative comments to his wife, to honor her, to give her whatever he can. I encouraged him and strengthened his resolve over and over. This is your wife. If heaven allowed you to marry her, then she is your intended wife, and this is your sole correction. It's up to you to use your power of prayer to solve any problems that arises. That young man, who was in no way lazy when it came to personal prayer, went and started to work on himself in a most honorable manner. Every day he engaged in hitbodedut for a few hours. He asked Hashem for help with to help him in refraining from comments and criticism, to honor his wife, to make her happy, and in believing that this is all for the best. So he tried, he was doing it. His vigorous efforts resulted in peaceful relations with her. He says, a year and a half of peaceful married life passed. Then one night, he came to me again, this time with a new problem. Dear Rabbi, thank God I have peace with my wife now. This is no longer a problem. I have no difficulty in coping with whatever she does to me. I only see Hashem. I never pay back in kind. On the contrary, I'm only good to her. I lavish her with things to no end. It's clear to me that all the suffering that I get from her is what is due to me. As much as she complains and is never happy, I accept it with love. As regards to peace and home, everything is fine. So now with no comments, making her number one, everything is good. The problem now is that I have such a strong desire to live a Torah life, to live in a Torah community, and my wife has no connection to Judaism at all. Yes, zilch. I don't say a word to her about it, but I want to ask you, dear Rabbi, maybe we really aren't suited for each other, and the best thing would be to get divorced after all. So he has no shalom bayit problems. He's quiet. She's giving him but now he's suffering. Why? He wants to be tzaddik yisod olam. He wants to live in a Jewish area. He wants to keep Shabbat complete. He's keeping Shabbat. She's not. Yeah. I looked at this young man with amazement. I had seen how far he had come since his marriage. Now he wanted to live a Torah life, something that before his marriage was far away from his aspirations. He had achieved a high level of emunah. To live with a wife who constantly complained and to accept all of that with love was no small accomplishment. His personal growth was clear. His whole manner expressed humility. He was shining, a delight to look at. Then I understood what a tremendous lesson Hashem was teaching me. I had always believed that whatever Hashem did was for the good. But here it was so obvious. Everything really is for the best. I thought that by marrying this girl, he had made a mistake of his life. Yet he accepted the situation with emunah, looked for the messages that Hashem was sending him, and then faithfully set out to improve. The truth became apparent in all its glory. Everything Hashem does is always for the best. If not for the challenges of getting along with a difficult wife, he would never have prayed as he did, from the depths of his heart and to such length. Also, he wouldn't have worked on himself in the way that he did. The merit of those heartfelt prayers and his dedicated efforts to improve himself were what brought him at the end to this holier lifestyle. So he's saying because his wife was like this, he prayed so hard to Hashem that he got the status where he was. Meaning she, quote unquote, pushed him to the point where he became spiritually connected to Hashem. Had he married a God-fearing girl, as I had thought that he should, perhaps he would have done hitbodedut for 1 hour, but in most likelihood would be without any warmth or passion. In terms of Judaism, he would have probably crawled along the way, slow pace. Yeah? Who knows if he might have even taken steps backwards. As I have seen many times, when young couples enthusiastic for spirituality wanes after the marriage. The girl he married, being the way she was, gave him a more boost for spirituality than the most zealous Orthodox girl could have. In the area of emunah, the most important part of teshuvah, he reached levels that few can achieve. He totally corrected his character traits. He started off with a very angry disposition, and now he was the most patient and pleasant person you could meet. He accepted all of his wife's complaints with faith. He pampered her, honored her, with no exceptions of receiving anything in return. If not for the challenges of having such a wife, he would never have merited all this. From here, we see the wonders of Hashem's providence. Common sense said that it was a big mistake for a young man to marry that woman. In reality, they faced many difficult challenges. Yet, when we look through the lens of emunah, we see that once they were married, very good. By coping with the difficulties, he ultimately became closer to Judaism. His tribulations helped him to achieve character traits and faith that few merit to achieve. So he says this challenge by his wife was not so observant, neither was he, by the way, but it challenged him to become better, and he did. This is a lesson for every situation in our lives. Although a person shouldn't seek difficult challenges or suffering, we should not. When he finds himself already in such a situation, we should know that this is definitely for the best. With such an incentive to pray, with such an incentive to pray and work on his character traits and his faith, the fruits of his labor will accompany him forever. Now, tomorrow, Bezat Hashem, we're going to discuss what happened. He ended up divorcing this girl.
Yeah.
He ended up divorcing this
It will
girl.
not. Yeah.
Wrong story? Oh, it didn't finish?
That's the paragraph.
Oh, okay, sorry. Back to the story. When he asked me what to do, to divorce her or not, I told him what? There's no such thing. You've worked beautifully on yourself. Now you have a new project. You anyway do Hidborotut for a few hours every day. Start to dedicate 1 hour on prayer, on changing your wife to do Teshuvah, and she'll change. Don't think about anything. He started praying for his wife for an hour every day, and soon enough, she started to change in the desired direction. An hour of prayer every day for somebody else will definitely have an effect. They then happily continued on the path of religious observance together. So which story was it that he...
Another story.
Oh, there was another story coming up.
He was trying to be a tzaddik
Oh.
at expense of his wife and children.
He
was insistent. I want to.
Okay, gotcha. So that's coming up. I'm sorry. So this turned out to be a good story, yeah?
Good, happy
Happy ending, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen.